You know where that 72 Virgins comes from? You ever hear about the you know the term assassin?
Right.
Or lone assassin? Hashishans, yeah.
Right.
That they would get like some homeless person off the street, they'd drug them, and they would take them to a garden, and they'd be on drugs, so they're like kind of hallucinating, but they're also in this beautiful garden, and they would just throw women at them, and the drugs would wear off, they'd pass out, they'd put them back in the street, and they'd wake up, and then they'd be like, hey, you want to go back to that paradise place with all those virgins? And they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm like, here's a knife, go kill that guy over there. And then they would do it and usually die in the attempt, either successful or non-successful.
Right.
So they didn't have to worry about it.
So, I don't think the Quran talks about 72 virgins.
I think it's a thing that was specifically brought up, used by the Hashishans, because there was like back during the the Crusades, there was two main forces, like the elite. You had the Templars, and then you had the Hashishans,
right?
And they were fighting. Even though the Templars were kind of like not when they first started out, they weren't fighting at all. They were just doing whatever they were doing at the Temple Mount, and they found something. They went back to Europe and became the number one organization in Europe.
Right, the Knights Templars.
What do you think they found? Because there was like I think there was originally only 6 of them.
Yeah, I've heard and I've seen.
They set up camp on the Temple Mount there.
Yeah,
and that's all they did, and they were digging, trying to find something.
Right.
One day they found something, and they packed up and went back to Europe. Next thing you know, they're one of the biggest and most powerful organizations in the world.
Well, I heard they found a cup that Jesus drank wine from during the Last Supper. And this cup is supposed to be somewhere in Europe, guarded by them. That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know how true it is. Dan Brown, who wrote...
the Da Vinci Code?
Yeah, the Da Vinci Code. I think he mentions something like that I've heard.
Is like I know Australia has like pretty tough. Like you can't get a gun in Australia, and I'm pretty sure the same thing is the same in New Zealand.
Well, I tell you, boy, one thing the United States has better not do is try to, which is almost impossible because of the Constitution, try to take people's guns, because you take all the guns away, the communists can come in and they got you, you don't have any guns. So that happened in Russia. They took all the guns. It happened in China. They took all the guns. The communists did. Maduro down in Venezuela, he'd love to do that. The Venezuelans probably don't have as many guns as they should have, because it may get to the point where Maduro says, he got his communist buddies inside the military, and he got them inside the police.
Oh yeah, it's just like when Castro and Che took over Cuba.
Right. They already had Castro and Che already had people in the military, high ranking.
Once they actually won, which they really didn't do a lot. Like they ran a big PR campaign from like southeast Cuba, the Cuban island, right? And because they had such a great propaganda machine going for them, one battle between what's the guy that was running Cuba at the time? Batista, yeah. Batista's forces were fighting Castro's forces, and they actually won. Castro got beat, but Castro went on the radio and was like, "Yeah, we won. We defeated them." And because of that, and the fact that one of Castro's right-hand man was taking half of their forces up to Havana, and Batista was hearing about this. He's like, "Well, I'm just gonna take my mafia money. I'm just gonna go." So he packed up his money and left Cuba. And then when they heard that he left, they just walked into Havana and took over.
Yeah, no, I think one of Castro's that was in the Cuban army, he was a communist, secret communist. He had went up through the ranks, colonel, general. He was already a communist, so he surrendered a lot of his men.
Well, a lot of those people were pretty much taken from the lower classes in Cuba,
Right.
and they didn't really want to fight.
Right. It was easy for the communists because they still do that stuff today. They say, go into this organization, go into this thing, and work your way up. You know, where you can be like
Yeah,
in control or supervisor or something like that.
that's like the United States back when what's that guy? The McCarthy,
Right.
Joe McCarthy. I mean, he, like, a lot of people don't know, but he was like a genius. He graduated high school at like age 13 or something like that, and went into college, graduated college, and then when World War II kicked off, he joined, and went to fight.
I didn't know that.
When he came back, though, when he was going for election, he kind of embellished his war record, like, hey, I did this.
Tail Gunner Joe, they call him.
Yeah, which to me, like, there's people that fake like they've been in the military. They wear the uniform and they act like it.
Right.
That's dumb, but that doesn't really piss me off. What pisses me off is the guys that have been in the military, but then are like, oh, I was Delta Force. And you're like, what? Okay, dude. And that's kind of, I mean, he didn't say that because that didn't exist back then, but
Right.
he kind of embellished his war record. But when he was alerted to the communist threat to the United States, he made a speech. And funny, you can't find that speech today. You can find it you can find it transcribed, but you can't find the actual audio recording.
This is a speech by Joe McCarthy.
Yeah, before the trial started,
Yeah.
someone told him, like, "Hey, this is going on," and it was going on. Like it had been going on ever since World War One, because World War One, Russia was our friends. Like, the Bolsheviks just took over. We really, the enemy of our enemy.
Right.
So, yeah, there was a lot of pro communism in America.
Yeah, that's as I was saying, that was one of the other reasons that Castro was able to take Cuba, because his communist buddy general, nobody knew he was communist until he surrendered all his men. So there was nobody else to fight.
Yeah.
Because that general said, "Oh, we're surrounded. We can't win. But he was just surrendering them. So
Castro wasn't communist until a little bit later after the revolution.
he wanted to be. I don't
No,
know.
his brother was a diehard communist, and Che Guevara was another diehard
Right.
communist. He was like, I'm not so much a communist. I just want better things for the people of Cuba. And then his right-hand man, the guy that actually brought the revolutionary forces into Cuba, because Castro was in Santiago, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was in the southeast area of the island when Batista left, and when the his right hand man went into, I forget what his right hand man's name was, but he took Havana, and he was not a communist. He was against communism.
Yeah, I know. I've read where Fidel Castro, he was hoping, aspiring to be a priest, a Catholic priest. I think he went to
He went to a Jesuit school.
and actually, some people say that he actually was a priest, but a Jesuit. You know what Jesuits are, right?
Yeah,
They're the
the militant wing of
military. The first Jesuit pope is the one that's the pope now.
yeah.
And a lot of times those guys, they side with communists. They side with the liberal viewpoint. Just like when Barack Obama was coming up running for president, that one priest down in Chicago, I forget his name, Father Pfleger, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Oh man, he's screaming and yelling. I said, "This is a Jesuit priest / commie socialist."
And then you got the other side of the Catholic Church that It's all they were like, hey, come on, Hitler, we'll help you guys escape.
The Jesuits?
Not well, the Catholic Church.
Right. The Jesuits usually they usually side with the socialist liberal viewpoint.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can see it with this with the Pope we have now. The different things he said,
Yep.
which is like, what the older, more conservative Catholics look at it like, wait, what? That's the exact opposite of what we're supposed to believe. But you're saying that, oh, we're changing with the time now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, those Jesuits.
I was wrong about New Zealand. Apparently, they're not like Australia, because Australia has that whole ban.
Yeah.
They have a firearms license that you have to get, and I think you have to get one in Australia too. But it says they got estimated 1,500,000 firearms.
The citizenry, you mean?
Yeah, which is like a drop in what America has. Yeah.
Well, good, New Zealand.
What's messed up is that I recently found out that quote that was supposed to be attributed to Admiral Yamamoto. Mm-hmm. The whole we couldn't invade mainland America because behind every blade of grass there'd be a gun.
Yeah, a Soviet, back when Russia was the Soviet Union, a KGB agent that defected, came to America. He said there was a meeting that was held in Moscow. I think they said in the late 40s, right after World War II. Could have been the early 50s. He said, in which they said, if we had a war against the United States, we would probably lose. The high-ranking people said we'll probably lose because America, they're invincible. And he said, if we should go to war with them, we'll probably lose. Now, let's say we win. We have one other thing to worry about, and that's the citizens. Yeah. He said because they're armed to the teeth. And he said it'll be hell to take the United States with its just as citizens if we get past the military.
The military, yeah.
So thank God for that Constitution, the right to keep and bear arms. I know that the liberals and the socialists and the communists which the Democratic Party is the Communist Party right now. They would love to get rid of that Constitution. They would love to take that Bill of Rights. Right to keep and bear arms. They love to get that, but they know it's a hard undertaking because
they're starting to fight amongst themselves. Because right now, what it looks like to me in the Democratic Party or left of center is you have two factions. You have like the Democrats that have sense, I guess, if you want to say that, and then you have like the far left, which are like just ridiculous, like the Antifa.
Right. Yeah, you got your far left ones, and you got these new socialist communists, and then you got these new Muslim coming in, and
like Ilhan Omar, and then the other.
Yeah, you got Ocasio-Cortez, and then you got these two Muslim women,
Did you know that she auditioned for that?
Who?
Ocasio-Cortez.
Audition for what?
For the role of running for Senate or Congress.
Congress.
Yeah.
She auditioned for it.
Yeah. A political group started up, and they were holding auditions for someone who was young, like attractive, someone who had their same viewpoints, and they would run them as the person against the incumbent that they wanted to get rid of.
Yeah.
And she was the one in that district that they chose to run against him. That's why if you see, like, all of her talking points come from the people of that organization. So she's like fed all this stuff. Hey, this is what we're about. But every time she goes off script, or they have a question that she can't answer with one of her pre-planned answers,
Right.
she always steps all in it, and everyone makes fun of her.
And them eyes of hers, boy.
Yeah.
Like they gonna bug out of her head. Boy.
Yeah.
I said, but she kind of got the eyes of a person that's bipolar. Heavy bipolar. 'Cause I remember once doing in-service training. We have every year when I was doing my career. I asked this psychologist or psychiatrist. They was lecturing us,
Yeah.
on inmates with mental problems, And I asked, what was the what does the term bipolar mean? He was saying up and down.
Yeah.
Up they're happy, and down they're depressed, and everybody's against them and stuff like that.
Angry, they get frustrated easy.
Yeah. And one time we had to dispense medication to the inmates when I was in Huber Law. We try to get them, hey, bring some nurses in here to do this because we're not pharmacists, Well, your contract says all duties assigned. So instead of spending money to bring nurses in, we had to do it. And this one guy that was bipolar, white guy, he claimed that I stole his medications, and he that's the reason why he over medicated. That's the reason why he didn't come back to jail when he was supposed to. Because I put him I wrote the report that when they don't come back, they call it escape from custody.
Okay.
So I did all the paperwork and turned it in. Then he wrote a grievance saying I was a great.
Because he didn't have his medication, that's why he didn't come back.
Well, he claimed that I gave him more medications than he was supposed to have, and he took them, and he said he didn't realize he was over medicating. Plus, and he said, I think Officer Gray has been taking my medications also.
So you over medicate him, then you take his medication.
Yeah. So Cassio Cortez, she got those because this guy he had them eyes like that. And one time in the late 70s at Summerfest, there was a white guy, a fat guy. He had eyes like that. And he was sitting along the lake, in Summerfest.
Yeah.
And he picked up a black kid and threw him in the lake, and the kid drowned.
What did they do to him?
They put him in. He didn't even have a trial. They just put him in because he was in mental institution.
Oh, okay.
So they just put him back in there, And he was like that, boy, like Cassio Cortez, boy. And this white guy that claimed I, gave him too many medications and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's by the Summerfest grounds there in Milwaukee, like on Lake Michigan. Like that's where it's deep.
Right.
It's not like towards like the beaches or whatever.
Right. And back then, they've redone the grounds on Summerfest, but back then, it was right up to shore. They done put some dirt, landfill,
Yeah.
To make Summerfest bigger. But Cassio Cortez, she got them eyes, boy. Scary looking.
Yeah. What's funny is she came up with that Green New Deal, which they wanted to eliminate cow farts.
Yeah, flagellum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they want to eliminate planes.
Planes,
It's like, okay, well, how
combustible engines.
are people going to get to Hawaii? Places like that.
Yeah, and plus they said that she plans on touring the whole country to sell this plan to the American people. So how are you going to get around? You're going to walk or what?
Yeah.
You're going to drive a car. It's spewing out exhaust.
Yeah.
You get on the train and doing the same thing. Planes. What are you going to do?
Yeah, like the train is like the most economical, I guess, and best for the environment. Some news station caught her at the airport as she was leaving to go to Washington D.C. And she was taking a jet. So they're like, "Hey, why are you taking a jet and not the train?" Because I want to get there quicker.
Yeah.
And train isn't that much slower. The train that she could have took
Right.
isn't that much slower than a plane because you got your boarding, your waiting, your takeoff, and all that stuff.
Right.
So
I like the look on their face. These environmentalists, these what is she? climate change people.
Yeah.
You know, I like the look on their face when, you know, people ask them that. So, you know, what about you? You know, you drive, you ride around in limousines, you know, that's spewing exhaust and stuff like.
Well, she thinks it's like now that she's in Congress, I don't know if she tweeted it herself or one of her aides did, but it wasn't a very good tweet. I would not have released it. But what she said is, okay, everyone giving me crap about my Green New Deal. You know, what do you have? What plan?
yeah.
What plan do you have? You know, and you don't have a plan. You're not in Congress. Well, pretty much what she said was, sit down, shut up. You're just yelling from the cheap seats.
Yeah.
Like that was what she said. You know, you're just yelling from the cheap seats. It's like, whoa. So now you're better than everybody.
Yeah.
Because you're in Congress.
This guy that was a congressman before her, you know, he wasn't.
Yeah, I think he was the incumbent guy. He was like in Congress for like over 20 years.
Right. Well, that's long enough.
Yeah.
You know, I say you shouldn't have been in there no 20 years.
I think it should be 2 terms.
Me
just
too.
like the president. 2 terms. That's it.
Me too. 2 terms for Congress and 2 for the Senate. For the Senate, they get 6 years.
But what's messed up is if you just do 1 term. Like if I was to run for Congress and get elected, then I could be like, all right, I'm not going to run next time because I can retire and get a 6-figure pension with all the medical benefits. You know.
That's why a lot of lawyers run for office, and boy, they just hate to leave. They hate to be voted out, boy, because they want that. What do you call it? The pension that they can get from Congress. You know, the 6 figures and stuff like that. They want that, and they love rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, the movie stars.
And it's also a way to acquire more wealth because. They go in there, maybe they're like a doctor, a lawyer or something, and they're able to get elected.
Right.
So they're worth they're worth lower 6 figures. Their first like 2 terms, they're now millionaires already because of little, hey, get on this stock or whatever, insider trading.
Right. Like Nancy Pelosi, she's worth $100 million.
What's funny is where she lives opposed to her district.
Yeah. Boy, I wish Trump would call her out. You know, she's opposed to the wall, and she got a wall around her mansion. And, you know, Trump need to do stuff like that. You know, I was glad when he finally, first president ever to come out and call out the socialists and the communists. You know, like Maduro and Bernie. Well, he hasn't really did it with Bernie Sanders, but he need to keep doing it. You know, let the American people know what socialism, communism is.
But Bernie Sanders is a democratic socialist.
Yeah, that's what he say.
It's like taking dog poop and just sprinkling.
He's a secret communist. He when he got married, him and his wife had a honeymoon in the Soviet Union back when it was the Soviet Union. And just a few days ago, he was on my brought up a video of him back in the.
Is this where he's talking about the bread lines? How they're good? They're a good thing.
Yeah, early 80s, where he's talking about how good Cuba was and stuff like that, you know, giving Fidel Castro the, you know. I said, yeah, Trump needs to make one of these political commercials, you know, when he runs for president.
Yeah.
Put that stuff on there, you know. Include it in the ad.